So let's go right in for today. Okay, so plan is I'm gonna try and make 10 mix reviews for each video, which means I'm gonna have to go twice as fast with my reviews and skip through the songs a little bit more. So that means we should still be looking at a total of about 15 videos to go. First one for today is by Julio Rasec. The guitars seem to be pretty much only top end. I'm not hearing much of defined mid-range and also some low end going on. So overall far too scooped because of the rhythm tones, and that makes also the whole mix far too scooped and harsh in the top range, and the low end and the vocals are a little bit panned to the right. That's weird. Okay, the low end is there, but a little bit weak, so that bass guitar could just come up a little bit. Okay, the vocals are always a little bit panned to the right, and I'm not sure why you made that choice. I mean, it's just putting the whole stereo picture out of balance, because vocals are probably the most present thing in a song. That's what our human's ear want to focus on, and having that pan to the side feels awkward. The drum mix, I want to say, is actually pretty good. It's just the overheads sound a bit harsh in that upper range. You may just want to take them down a notch, and then you're good. Yeah, solo could come up a little bit in volume 2. Okay, so it's overall, it's not a whole lot that you would need to do in order to give it some more improvements. Work on the frequency balance of your guitar tones, give them more mid-range, less of that harsh top end, and keep the vocals centered. Next one is by Jente. Jente van de Water. Okay, somehow you also have this problem. The main rhythm guitars are kind of monoed. Keep them, just pan them hard left and hard right, and make sure when you put an amp plug-in onto the bus for those guitars that it's actually set to a stereo input, so it keeps the guitars also left and right instead of collapsing them back to mono. Vocals are too loud. The sections without the vocals, you already notice the whole mix is pumping too much. There's too much compression on the master channel going on. And now with the vocals being too loud, it's messing that up even more. Because when the vocals come in, that master compressor or limiter, whatever it is, it's working too much against it. They're working too much against each other. And that's making the whole mix get too cramped, too crushed.
I'm running out of space as I pace back and forth in this blasting machine.
You notice how when the vocals come in, the whole rest of the mix, the whole rest of the music just totally ducks down in volume. So my tip for you would be, don't do anything on the master bus until you get a nice balance in the mix itself. Because when you work on the master bus or master channel or two bus or main channel or main output, everybody calls it differently somehow. Everything you do on there has way more of an impact, so you need to be way more subtle. And when you're just starting out mixing, as you say in your email, then I would rather suggest leave that for later. Don't worry about your master channel. Work on your mix first. But I want to say the drum mix is actually pretty cool. I just wish there wasn't so much pumping going on, then I could hear it better. Okay, as you can see, I gotta rush through these things a little bit more. I'm sorry if I can't be as detailed with my feedback right now, but seeing as there's still a lot to go through, I'm a little bit pressed for time. I still have other stuff to do in my life now. So, next one's by Kamil Jablonski. Kamil Jablonski. Something like that. This is a really good mix so far. the solo is too muffled, doesn't have enough presence in the upper mid-range, and it's that's kind of pushing the solo too far back. But otherwise, this is a solid mix. Okay, next one is by Bärenfänger. Now that is a butt-kicking name. Bärenfänger means bear catcher. If that's your real name, then that's awesome. Okay, this sounds pretty cool so far, but there's some dense fogginess going on in the honky mid-range, like 500 to 600 hertz, or let's say 400 to 700. You know that broad range, there's something going on. I suspect at this point it's the bass guitar, but we shall see. Yep, it's the bass guitar. Definitely, there's this honky mid-range going on in the 500 to 600 hertz range. May just want to dip that down because it's fogging up that mid-range too much. And the mix is already dense as it is, so you want to be careful with certain details like these that they don't make the denseness into muddiness. But otherwise, this mix is really crazy. In a good way. It feels more like a remix, like so it doesn't really feel like a hard rock song anymore, but it's still in a good way. It works. Yeah. Be careful, there's a chord. Hi, Nolan. Nolan? I'm working right now. I don't have time. Yeah, it's Johnny. Give me a high five. There you go. Good boy. That was my other nephew, by the way. Okay, this is something else. Really, it feels more modern, but you made it work in a really cool way. Really, the only thing I feel is that the bass guitar could use quite the dip in that honky mid-range, and perhaps the vocals could come up in the BO2, but that's about it. Otherwise, this is... Next one's by Ryan Clark. This is also a very solid mix. The only thing I would say at this point is the bass guitar could use a little bit less strength around 200 Hz and shift that a little bit further down to 100 Hz or towards 100 Hz because it sounds a bit too round and poofy in that section that it's just at the cusp of becoming muddy. And the guitars could come down a little bit, and perhaps the kick drum come up a little bit, and then you're golden. Nah, the kick drum is actually good. It's just the guitars could come down a bit, and that's it. Yeah, this is a mix that's on the other side of the spectrum compared to the mix we had before. The mix before was very modern, very big, very dense, huge sounding. And this one is on the other on the other side. It's very, very rough, very rockish, very more old schooler sounding, and both work perfectly fine. So, also here again, rather solid mix. Next one's by Samuel Busc. This is also again a very solid mix. Yeah, it's a good mix. I honestly have no real pointers to give you there. Next one is by Tomi Kangas. Kangas? Okay, the guitars are quite fizzy in the top range. There's something in the 5K area, 6K area going on. There's just this spike that's giving you this constant harsh sound. Okay, and the low end is kind of muddy and flubby. I think it's the bass guitar that just could use a bit more filtering down there. So especially the low A note doesn't get too flubby and stays a bit more defined in the 100 to 150 hertz range. The vocals could come up a little bit, and I think there's a bit too much reverb on the vocals. It's pushing them back a little bit too much. Yeah, overall it's not a bad mix per se, it just needs a couple of tweaks. Mostly EQ balancing. And then also a little bit of volume balancing, but nothing crazy really. Okay, next one is by Transcendental Existence. Yeah, so I actually know the guy. It's gonna be interesting. Okay, the only problem I'm hearing right now is the mix is pumping. The kick always acts too much on the compressor on your master channel. So you either want to make use of the sidechain filter in the master compressor to filter out the low end so that doesn't act too much on the mix. Or just dial down that master compressor in general. Just raise the threshold.
I'm running out of space as I pace back and forth in this blasting machine. I can't be tamed, can't be. Then we will go. Just wait. The time it
Yeah, and the low end of the bass could come up a little bit to give the mix a bit more energy down there. Okay, overall it's a solid mix. It's just a couple of tweaks you could do. And the thing with the master compressor, I think, is a tweak you should do. Because it's really pumping a little bit too much. It's making it a bit hard on the ears after some time. Next one's by Emir Hamzaoglu. Okay, so far there's quite a different sounding mix, but it works. Overall, it's really a good mix. The guitar tones, there's something I want to say about them, but it's again, it is again a more stylistic thing. The guitar tone sounds like it would work pretty good for metalcore, where you have a lot of chops and palm muting going on. But here in this song, where you have a lot of open notes, it can be a bit grating to the ears after time. Well, yeah, as I said, overall, it's actually a good mix. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. And then, last one for today, I think, if I didn't get confused now over the course of this video, is by Toguro San from Turn Up Studio. Okay, overall the mix works. I feel that the overheads are too harsh and too loud. Kind of pierce a little bit too much. The rhythm guitars I feel have a bit too much distortion and could have a bit more noise gating. So the staccato riffing here in the verse could be a bit choppier. And because with the way it is right now, with the distortion just carrying on through those short pauses, it kind of messes with the groove of it.
Running out of space as a pace back and forth in this blasted set. The massive disease.
Also, I feel the bass guitar could be a bit louder, so the low end gets a bit more oomph in the whole mix. But I feel that's also more a stylistic thing. So you do sometimes have modern mixes that don't have too strong of a low end, and that's perfectly fine.
We're getting loose. Just wake up.
Yeah, it's definitely the overheads are too grating. They need to come down a couple of dB.
What has led me to being that so?
Okay, but otherwise it's a solid mix. Okay, and I guess that's it for today, as long as I haven't messed up. Then I shall see you next time.